Alright, so for today I thought that I would show you guys my developer setup, like the entire thing, starting with the OS, going through what color schemes, fonts and tools I use, because I saw a lot of questions about this, and yeah, sure, why not? Let's go through them. So first of all, let's get the easier things out of the way. So for example, like the OS that I'm using. Right now I'm using Arch Linux, and yeah, I've started using Debian and Ubuntu, but I wanted to also try out this one because I saw a lot of people discussing the differences, I guess. Honestly, if you think about it from like a end user perspective, you don't really notice that huge of a difference. Like sure, the difference, like the biggest difference for me was that you find a lot of packages on Arch, especially if you use the AUR, or what's called. And yeah, like that's like being able to install everything from Git. So really like that, it's much easier than having to compile it yourself, although it's just an extra step, so I wouldn't say it matters that much, but it's still a nice feature. And yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that it's easy to break, but didn't really happen to me. So I don't know, maybe it's not that often. Like 99% of the time it everything worked fine for me, so I wouldn't say that is really true that stuff breaks easily. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it was just me, so I was lucky. For the shell, I'm using fish, mainly because I found it really easy to install, and yeah, like compared to Zish, basically, right? Like that's the main competitor, let's say, for fish, for this shell. I would say I prefer this one just because you don't have to update anything when you use it. Usually when I use Zish, I get popped up with a message of, oh, you have to update. But all in all, it's basically it feels the same thing. So yeah, and again, sure, I don't really write that many shell scripts, so that could be a deal breaker because fish is a lot more different than bash or zish. And yeah, ZSH is much closer to bash, so again, if you are like pretty new, I would suggest zish or bash, but if you don't really care about writing shell scripts, fish is pretty cool. So yeah, it's fish is just like this ZSH but with better defaults, I would say. For the window manager, I switched to i3, and the main reason for that was that uh, as I almost said in the beginning, I did one update at some point, and for some reason OBS broke on Wayland, so I said, well, I don't really care about animations and that sort of stuff on Hyperland, like the window manager that I used before. So I just said, okay, let's use i3 from now on, because it's distracting anyways to have animations and stuff. So like just going with i3, simple. It's yeah, like whatever. For the theme of the terminal, which is Kitty, we can, yeah, sure, let's discuss the terminal first, right? So the terminal emulator is Kitty, and I've used a couple ones before, like Alacrity, Foot, and so on. But honestly, again, the main reason was that I just installed it and I couldn't be bothered to change it. And also, I think the main reason why I installed it the first time was the ability to display images in the terminal. So like with iCat or something. but I don't really remember which. Yeah, like you can display images in the terminal. That's pretty neat, but at the same time it's completely useless. So yeah, that was the main reason why I installed it. I was curious about that, and yeah, I just like the ability to. I mean, it was just easy to do anything with it, so why not? I just kept it. And yeah, for the theme that I use in Kitty, I made a custom one. I saw at some point there was a Neovim, like some sort of a meme. Yeah, in this repo I found this Breaking Bad theme for Neovim, and I couldn't see it now. It looks a bit different here, but yeah, it was pretty funny to use. It was like a really minimal theme. I was trying to, do that, but at some point, like even before doing this challenge of 100 days, I switched to Groovebox or something like that for the color scheme, but I still kept the Breaking Bad theme for the terminal because I don't know, I just like these colors for folders, and yeah, I mean you can find the theme on my GitHub, so I'm not sure how it's called. Let me just search it. I guess it's this one, Breaking Bad GTK theme. Might contain some stuff for GTK. But I guess the rest of the colors is in Breaking Bad Hyperland theme. Although I'm not using Hyperland, I still have like the Kitty config and a lot of things in that repo, so that's how I wanted to keep them. So yeah, that's basically the color scheme of the terminal. I wrote it myself, and I guess it's just copied from I actually forgot, I guess reversal whatever dark theme, and I just changed the colors, so it's not really my own theme. I just changed the colors to these colors. I don't really remember how you Kitty show config. I don't remember how you press or control shift F6 if you want to see it, so yeah, and whatever like other stuff about Kitty if you wanted to see the settings. So yeah, next on the list is the script that I'm using to create the Tmux sessions. So I created my own sesh script that's just the alias that I use, and I guess in neovim.files I have the config for Tmux and Neovim. So the Tmux config is pretty much the default. I've just changed the prefix to control space. I feel like it's easier for me to reach space than B. It's just a preference, and I have switched most of the key combinations to be like Neovim, so navigate with HJKL, and yeah, I mean for the plugins I don't really have that much, so again not it's just defaults basically in Tmux. But then for the Tmux sessionizer script, this one I copied from some other guys, but I have changed it quite a bit because there were some edge cases. So for example, I wanted to change it such that it works regardless of whether you are already in a Tmux session or you, like, if you just close this thing and then, I mean, right now, you know, let's say I choose a random thing. If I open the current sessions, I still see it, so you can just go to it like that. So yeah, it's a pretty simple script, but it's quite useful. So yeah, it uses FZF to show the results. I guess, you know, the fuzzy finder, and yeah, that's just a really simple script that shows you your project folders, right? And, you know, sets the name to that, and you can create windows in this Tmux session. So it's pretty neat, in my opinion. Like, it helps you quite a lot. Like, before using Tmux, I was just creating windows like this, and it was a bit annoying. But with being able to just have tabs like this, much better. And you can even have like splits and stuff, which I don't really use. Maybe only when I'm doing multiplayer things, like when I did the multiplayer game. So that's when I used splits. It was just easier to see like the server and the client running in parallel. But for most other things, I don't really care about splits. So that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's just Tmux with default settings, and this script which is used to just open a folder, and it sets the name of the session to that folder. So yeah, nothing that special, but it's like 50 lines of code that saved me maybe, I don't know, like 10 hours or something in the time that I used it. So I mean, it doesn't sound that much, but I'm not using the script for that long. Like, I'm using it for maybe 2 months. So yeah, I would say that it helps you quite a lot. And I guess for the Neovim config, and there's, yeah, I also saw a question so many times about the font that I use. So yeah, let's go in the, like, any of them. The font I'm setting in the terminal emulator, so maybe that's also something that you have to keep in mind. So yeah, the font family is Yosefka Term. I think that's how you say it, I'm not sure. And I guess, like, I'll be honest there, like, I never noticed differences between fonts. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not sure how. This is a question from people, like, what is the font? Because, like, I don't know, like, I don't see the difference when I use fonts, but maybe I'm just blind. So anyway, this is the font. I guess people ask about the font because of the ligatures, right? But yeah, so maybe that's the reason, right? But again, that's the font that I use. So, and I usually set it in the terminal emulator because that's how it's gonna work. But I think you can also set it in the hyperlink config. So, or I guess, I don't know, i3 config, if you use i3. So yeah, that's the font. For Neovim, again, the settings, so I have quite a few of let's say sets which are just, in my opinion, better defaults. I guess not that many, but yeah, I don't have like an explanation of what each one does, so yeah, it depends on whatever you want to know, right? So yeah, I'm sure I'm using relative line numbers. These ones are just, you know, they might even be defaults, but I don't know why I set them, right? So that's one thing. Then for the keybinds, yeah, just really simple keybinds, right? Nothing special here. Okay, and then for the plugins, because these might be more interesting, right? For the color scheme, right now I'm using Gruber Darker, which is like really minimal, and that's why I switched to it, because I've tried quite a few different color schemes, including writing my, I guess this one is using the one that I just showed you with Breaking Bad, so yeah. But yeah, these are this is my new color scheme, I would say, and it's pretty neat. Like it's really simple, and quite like that about color schemes. Then for I guess for the Git thing that pops up, right, I'm using something called Fugitive, and again, like mostly the default settings, right? And with plugins usually you'll go with the default settings because they are just doing something, so pretty simple. For file navigation, I'm using Harpoon. I'd like to get a bit better at it because I'm not using it that often, and I have to force myself to use it more, because I feel like it's, for me, it's somewhat easier to open up the telescope and search for the file, but it's a pretty cool tool if you get good at it. You know, the LSP is like the classic one. I'm using the one from Lazy Vim, so it's just copied from there. In basically, like, I'm using LSP0, and I think this is the same config as the one from Lazy, so yeah. Okay, and I mean, some things for like testing and debugging tools, which I mean are nice, but they are more like a gimmick. So sure, if you want to debug your code, it works, but I'm not gonna say it's that great right now. So sure, it's pretty cool, like it's working, right? But not amazing, I would say. For telescope, I just said it's pretty neat plugin for searching things. Honestly, I'm just using it for find files, or sometimes for the grep, right? For the search across the project for a word. So obviously three-seater, and this one integrates really well with the LSP to highlight the code. And I guess these are all of them. Also, I have this trouble one, and yeah, again, I'd like to try to get a bit better at Neovim at using the quick fix list and the C list or whatever, because I'm not using them as much. Like mainly I'm using telescope basically with Neovim, and the LSP, sure. So these are the two main things that I use all the time, telescope and LSP. And the rest of them are just extra things that I use if I remember. So yeah, I mean, also the Git plugin. But yeah, I'd like to get better at Harpoon and maybe using Trouble, right? Because having the quick fix list is pretty neat, but don't use it that much as I would like to. So yeah, basically these are all the configs that I have. Let me know if you think I missed anything or you'd like to see anything else. But other than that, yeah, sure, if you liked this review of my dot files, don't forget to like, comment, share, do all the YouTube things, I guess. Anyway, oh yeah, and the script is pretty easy to install. Like right now I'm using, like if you don't have the right distro, it's not gonna work. These are I mean, someone asked me to add EndeavorOS, so I added it. I've never used this one, but I mean, honestly, it's like based on Arch, so it's just Arch Linux. But these are the rest of them are distros that I used, so that's why I added them. Okay, and yeah, basically this one just goes through the installation process. It installs the plugins for Neovim, it installs the Tmux plugins, and it I guess links the scripts for Sesh, and that's pretty much it. So if you want to try out my config for Tmux and Neovim, you can just try it. But again, you won't have the you won't have Kitty or the color scheme for Kitty. You'll have just Neovim and Tmux. So that's the only two things you'll have. If you need, let's say, the full thing, you could check out how I configured Kitty in here. I just wanted to keep them separate because this is more like the whole window manager, and this is just the things that I need to write code, like the Tmux and Neovim thing, and they can work in any terminal, any window manager, and so on. So yeah, and yeah, they work even in WSL. So if you use Windows and have WSL, you can just run the script and you'll get Neovim plus Tmux configured really neatly. So yeah, as I said, hopefully you found this one really useful. Hopefully you are gonna try out this combination, Tmux plus Neovim, because it's really cool. And yeah, we'll see in the next one. So see you guys, bye.